So I'm going to break down an NHL mock draft here. I've just brainstormed my top 31. I don't really have an exact board up at this point, and we only know picks 1 through 27. So if we get bored after pick 27, we can stop after pick 27. But I'd figure Jack Hughes is going to be the number 1 pick. I mean, this guy, Team USA player, he's been hyped up as the number 1 pick heading into last season, and you got a very similar dynamic with Capo, Kakko, and Jack Hughes to Austin Matthews and Patrick Laine from the 2016 draft. Guy from USA, guy from Finland go 1 and 2 overall. And that's what we had in 2016 when we had Laine out of Tappara go 2nd overall, and then we had Austin Matthews go 1st overall. With Laine going to Winnipeg, doing very well there. Matthews going to Toronto. Got a very similar dynamic, except the Devils, they can get Capo, Kakko, and is a line 1 right winger, and Jack Hughes is a center. So I think both of those players go 1 and 2. Hughes going first to the Devils. He can be on the top line as that line 1 winger, and Capo Kakko can be on the Rangers as that line 1 center. And I think that's something to take into consideration, because these are the top 2 players in this draft class. Capo Kakko and Jack Hughes are the top 2 players in this draft class, and they're probably both going 1st and 2nd overall, if I had to say. And I've got Hughes as a center. I've got Kakko as a right winger, but I think both are line 1 players.
Yeah, that's what this mock I'm looking at.
Yep, and the Blackhawks at 3 are the team that's really going to change things up. You can take Turcotte out of USA, who has been on line 1 when Hughes was on the USHL team. Vasily Podkolzin is my top player on the board. He has the most upside, but he also has some injury concerns as well as some potential character concerns in Russia. But I'm not reading too much into that. I think he's got the upside, and I'm going based off that. And then you got Dylan Cozens, who's the safest player in the draft, my number 4 player on my board. And you've got Bowen Byram and then Alex Turcotte. So you got 4 different options. I'm going Podkolzin for the Blackhawks at 3 because I think he's the best player in the class. And then Colorado at 4 with Ottawa's picks in a very interesting situation, Kerm. You could either take the safest player on the board in Cozens, or you can get the best defender in the draft. But either way, I think it's a pretty lucrative situation for the Avalanche, because you're going to have Cale Makar coming up. You also have Shane Bowers and another Connor Timmins in your farm system. They could be coming up as well. So I'm curious to see what you do here at 4 if you're Colorado with Ottawa's pick, because if you get this pick right, I think Ottawa's in striking distance of pushing for the Western Conference next season.
This month, I'm looking at Colorado is Kirby Dach.
Well, Kirby Dach is in my top 6, top 7. I have Kirby Dach at 7 on my board, but I've seen him go as high as 6 or 5. So we're going to mock Kirby Dach to Colorado at 4 just to throw a curveball into this NHL mock draft, just to have some fun, just so we could say, well, there's a curveball. So now the Kings are up at 5, and they could choose between Dylan Cozens and Bowen Byram, the top defender in the class. And Cozens is a top player on my board, so we're going to go with Cozens at 5 just to mix things up. And that means the Red Wings...
I need to say the site is the Asia mock draft everything based off.
Interesting. So Bowen Byram would fall to the Red Wings in this situation, and the Red Wings get the top defender in the class at number 6. And then Buffalo at number 7, I believe. They have the 7th pick. You've got Peyton Krebs, who is team captain but has a -50 plus-minus ratio. I don't know how concerning that would be. I have Ryan Suzuki a little higher than most experts. He was the line 1 center when they had Andrei Svechnikov. He is my top OHL prospect. So I have him a little bit higher than most. I also have Matthew Robertson, and this is where things get interesting after those top 6 selections. But I'm going to go with the team captain and leadership because Peyton Krebs is not a guy that you need to insert into the lineup. You've got Sam Reinhart, a veteran who was on the Kootenay ice who can help out. You've got Jack Hughes, who went to the Devils, but Jack Eichel. Eichel is the guy I was thinking of for the Sabres. So you've got veterans who can ease this guy into the lineup. And I think that veteran leadership in Buffalo is really going to start to pan out because you got Rasmus Dahlin, #1 overall. You've got Jack Eichel. You've got a good core intact. And all you have to do is continue to build around that core. And I think the Buffalo Sabres are closer to contention than people realize. So I'm going with Peyton Krebs. He can play anywhere at forward, and you can just ease him into that lineup, and he'll make an impact. The Edmonton Oilers at 8. I could give them Ryan Suzuki, but they need defense. We're going to go with Matthew Robertson from the Edmonton Oil Kings. The Oilers get a local at 9 to complement at 8. The 9th best player on my board is a defender, so we'll give them a local at 8 just to make things easier. And then number 9, I believe, is the Anaheim Ducks. They pick at 9th, so they can get Ryan Suzuki to learn under Ryan Getzlaf. Who do you see going 9th, Kerm? Do you want to take a look at the Ducks mock and see what the experts have them projected to take at this point? Because I feel like there's a lot of players they could go with here.
Their mock is Matthew Boldy. He's for the U.S. Under-17 team.
Matthew Boldy is a line 1 winger on the USA Under-18 team, and that's a good pick. He kind of reminds me of Bobby Ryan. He's going to go to college for a year, but he could develop into a good player.
He's on the under-17 team.
Yeah, and he's going to take time to develop. But the upside to be a line 1 left winger is there, but he's going to take time to develop. And that brings me back to number 10, the Vancouver Canucks. They drafted really good defenders last year. I think they got trying to remember who the Canucks got. I think it was Quinn Hughes, and then they got Jet Woos. They got 2 really good defenders, and they got Olli Juolevi from the 2016 NHL draft. So they've got 3 defenders in their system. I'm going to go Ryan Suzuki here at 10 because they need some offensive talent to replace the Sedin brothers. And I'm going with Ryan Suzuki, best player on my board at number 10. That brings us to the Philadelphia Flyers 11. And I'm going to make this pick. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to give them Raphael Lavoie, because if I give Kerm the Flyers pick, obviously he's going to give a bad player. I'm kidding. But we'll give them Raphael Lavoie, best player on my board. They can develop him. They've got a lot of good prospects in their system, and they finally brought their goalie up to the NHL. So I'm excited to see what the Flyers do moving forward, because I think they're a team that could make a comeback next year in a big way. They're closer than people think. Minnesota Wild are on the clock at 12. Who do they have going to the Wild at 12?
Philip he's an international defenseman.
I have Moritz Seider. Moritz Seider from Adler Mannheim in the Dell German League is the top player on my board. I'm guessing that's who the international player is.
Not sure.
All right, so we'll go Moritz Seider from Germany at 12. So a German player gets drafted by Minnesota. Yeah, any thoughts on the German player going to Minnesota, Joey? Huge transition from Germany to Minnesota.
Yeah, but Germans have good hockey teams, so don't really.
No comment then? All right.
Huh?
All right. Yeah, the Germans do have good hockey teams. Florida Panthers at 13. They could go with a goalie here. There is a first-round goalie in this class, but I'm looking at 2 players at 13. Philip Broberg out of AIKIF and Arthur Kaliev from the Hamilton Bulldogs at left wing. I'm looking at defense, and I'm looking at winger. I'm also looking at goaltender potentially. Who do the Panthers, and Tomasino is a center, top center on my board. The Panthers have a lot of options. Who are the Panthers projected to take at 13? Are you looking at Tankathon's mock or Draft Site's mock? Just out of curiosity. Okay. Because Tankathon has Cam York going to the Panthers. Boston College commit for Team USA. Who does Draft Site have the Panthers taking at 13? So it's a defenseman. All right. Goalie. So they have the goalie. They have the goalie that I like from Team USA going 13th overall, and that goalie's at 27 on my board. But I've seen him mocked as early as the top 15, and I believe that goalie is Spencer Knight. Is that who?
Correct. As I've said a couple times already.
Yep. So Spencer Knight, the goalie for Team USA, who is a first-round prospect who's gotten compared to Carey Price. I am at 27 on my board, but he is a first-round goalie, and he could get pushed up into the top 15. The Panthers do need a long-term goalie to develop behind Roberto Luongo. So Spencer Knight to Florida is the pick then. That brings us to the Coyotes at 14. I'm going to go with the Coyotes need some talent. I feel like they really – I'm going to go with Broberg out of Sweden, give him another defender, because I felt like they reached at their number 5 pick last year. So I'm going to give them Broberg, best player on my board. That leaves the Canadians with Arthur Kaliev to potentially replace Max Pacioretty, because I think they traded Max Pacioretty in the offseason last year to the Coyotes or something. I think he got traded last offseason. I don't remember exactly. Oh, he's an alternate captain for the Vegas Golden Knights. Okay, so he was line 1 winger on Montreal, team captain. But now Montreal gets a chance to replace him. They get Arthur Kaliev at 15. That works out wonderfully. And then the Avalanche, who took Kirby Dach at 4, they pick again at 16. So we'll give them a defender here. We'll go Thomas Harley. And I'm going to let Kern pick for the Vegas Golden Knights because I know my stars are up at 18 and I know I want to pick for them. So what's Draft Sites have Vegas doing at 17?
Defenseman Victor Solstrom out of Sweden.
Victor Solstrom's still on the board, and I've heard some people mock him as high as the top 10. So Victor Solstrom from Brynäs IF, the same school that had Adam Boquist, same hockey academy in Sweden. They get him at 17. So that leaves my Dallas Stars in a very good situation where we got Miro Heiskanen, and we can either go with Ville Heinola from Sweden or Finland. We got Heiskanen from Finland. We could get another defenseman from Finland or Philip Tomasino from the Niagara Ice Dogs. I'm going to take the defenseman from Finland here at 18 because I feel like Dallas needs defense, and Heinola could be a great future piece. We got Klingberg and Heiskanen. So Dallas does well with defenders from Finland. So I'm going to take the Finnish defenseman Heinola at 18, who's 16th on my board. Ottawa at 19 with Columbus's pick. They'll go with Philip Tomasino. The Rangers at 20. They could take Brett Leeson or Nolan Foote or Pelletier or Sasha Mutala. Who are the Rangers projected to get at 20?
Defenseman Maurice Sider out of Van Heinen into the D.
DEL League, which is Germany. That's the guy we mocked the Wild. Okay, so I'm just going to give the Rangers Brett Leeson, top player on my board. That leaves the Pittsburgh Penguins in the clock at 21. The top player on my board is Nolan Foote from the Kelowna Rockets. He is the younger brother of Colin Foote and the youngest son of Adam Foote. So that would be a nice pick for the Penguins, but I want to see who the draft site has the Penguins taking at 21 because there's quite a few players on my board. Tankathon is Matthew Robertson on their board, but he's off my board.
The defenseman Cam York, out of the country.
Yeah, I have Cam York at 30 on my board, but Tankathon has Cam York going 13th to the Florida Panthers, and he is going to Boston College. Despite being 5'11", 165, the Penguins can develop him in their system. They don't have to bring him up right away. So Cam York to the Pittsburgh Penguins, Team USA, that's a good pick for developmental purposes. You don't have to rush him. The LA Kings pick again at 22 at Toronto's pick, and the LA Kings, I'm going to give them Nolan Foote because I just think that would be a good pick for them. The Islanders, Jacob Pelletier out of the Montcalm Wildcats goes to the Islanders at 23, can play everywhere. Nashville up at 24. Who is Nashville projected to get at 24? Ryan Suzuki. He's off the board, so we'll just give them Sasha Mutala from the Tri-City Americans, who I really like on tape. He's a right winger, but he's the best player on our board at this point. The Capitals, they get Alex Turcotte, who's I've seen mocked as high as 3rd overall at 25, and that's a steal. And I know, as a Penguins fan, you probably really feel cringeworthy about that pick. Calgary at 26, we're going to give them Alex Newhook because I don't know if Calgary's going to draft anybody from Team USA. So I'm just going to give them whoever. And then the Lightning at 27, they would get Trevor Zegras, who's 22nd on my board, who I've seen in the top 10 in some mocks at 27. And then the Anaheim Ducks, who, assuming the Blues lose this series, they go Cole Caulfield. We're assuming the Blues lose the Ducks. Now, if the Blues beat the Sharks, Carolina moves from 29 to 28, and Buffalo, which owns San Jose's first-round pick, would move up to 29. But if the Sharks win against the Blues, the Ducks would move up to 28. So the Ducks and Sabres, the Blues and Sharks both traded their first-round draft picks for a chance to win the Stanley Cup. So the Blues will give them Cole Caulfield. That means there's 3 players left on the board. The Hurricanes at 29, they can choose between Connor McMichael, Vladislav Kolchenkov, and Samuel Poulin. And I'm going to go with Connor McMichael simply because he's on the London Knights and he has that championship pedigree. The Sabres, they can get Kolchenkov. Vladislav Kolyachenkov's a guy I watched tape on earlier this year when I was recoding the OHL pages. I was watching tape on Kolyachenkov, and he's impressive. He's a project player, but he's got great upside, and the Sabres can develop that with San Jose's draft pick, and they can get defense at 30. And then that leaves the Boston Bruins with Samuel Poulin, who can play left wing, right wing, or defense. He's 6'2", 207, but he's an excellent defender. And I saw one site list him as a defender despite being an alternate captain and a team captain for the Sherbrooke Phoenix. So he's got the leadership. He can play offense or defense. The Bruins get the best player on the board, and they add more offensive firepower. So great pickup for the Bruins. They get Samuel Poulin. And that does it for this mock draft. And I'll make sure to get write-ups on those picks. I'll record everything. I might do something different. I let Kern pick for a few teams just to make it fun. But that will wrap things up. Thoughts